clear strategy will also help you with, attracting the right customers. And again, we talk to a lot of our clients when we first meet, and we ask them like, who are your customers? Like, who are you serving? And the answer is sometimes is like, well, we serve everybody. Well, from my experience, I know that's not really a reality. Like, no business or no organization can serve everybody. And I think the most successful businesses are the ones that have figured this out, who their best clients are, and they cater everything what they do and how they present themselves and how they communicate around that ideal client. So that's really important as well. And then also once you have a plan together, and we call this a strategy first plan, you actually have a really strong foundation now to take the next step and actually start building your marketing efforts. And I got a better slide on that here in a few minutes. So a few people have responded in the chat box, so that's great. So some of you have, of course, done. Um, yeah, some of the comments are like, yes, we have a plan, but the implementation is always a challenge, right? And then that's 100% correct, and that's understandable because that's the most difficult part, right? And the world changes so fast as well, so it's not always, you're always kind of one step behind almost with that. But the fact that you have that in place is a really good step. And then yeah, I know, Linda, you guys have a plan as well, so that's great. So um, yeah, so what are some of the so now we're getting into the 7 steps. Like when we promoted this webinar, we talked about 7 steps that you need to take or that you can take to kind of figure these things out. And on this slide, we have them kind of summarized. So it starts with reviewing your online presence, and that includes your website, and we'll talk about it in a bit more detail here in a few minutes. Again, like I already said, we look at the competitors, like what are your competitors doing, right? Because again, every business that I've ever dealt with has competition. I mean, there's very few. Some of you have more competition than others, but there is always somebody else doing something very similar to what you're doing. So we look at, what you should look at, some of the things they do. Um, with I kind of forgot to mention here. There's kind of 2 ways how you can process this information that we're presenting this morning. You can just take this 7-step process and just go through it yourself and implement it yourself. And we want to encourage you to do that. The second option is a done for you option. So that's kind of where you would hire Edge to actually guide you through this process and actually have us do most of the heavy lifting on the actual process. So I just want to make clarify that. So you have those 2 options, and it's solely up to you what you want to do with that. But when I speak about all these things, just keep that in mind. That sometimes if you're busy and you want to farm this out to somebody else to actually do some of the research, that may be a really good option for you. Of course, it comes with a cost, but some of our clients have really benefited from going through this process before we actually did any design work or any website work for them. So part of the process, especially if we perform this, is a client interview. So we actually get in touch with your clients. And then we develop something that's called ideal client personas. So those are, not sure, some of you may be familiar with that. If you are, maybe just put it in the chat box again, make this a little bit more interactive. But it's more or less a description of your ideal client. And again, we really want to sell and deal with our ideal clients, preferably, right? Because it'll be more fun for your team to work with ideal clients. That generally speaking, they're more profitable. They're just a better fit for you, right? So it's totally okay to say no to people that don't kind of fit that profile, and really zoom in on the people that actually like to work with you and actually are really good clients of yours. So that's important. So then the core marketing message is part of that as well. Like what do you tell the world about your business or organization? Like what does that look like? A buyer's journey map. So that's kind of I'll explain it in more details in a few minutes. And then the content marketing is the 7th leg of this process. And that's more or less planning content, because content is really important these days, to like start planning that as well, because if you don't plan it, it generally speaking doesn't happen, or you're always at fighting the latest post or the latest email that needs to go out. So again, having a plan on how you're going to approach that is really, in our opinion, really valuable. So if you those are the 7 steps you can take, and from there you kind of develop what we call a marketing action plan or a marketing strategy. There's all kinds of different terms we use for it, but that's really what it is. It's a blueprint for you to really know where you have to focus on first, and then step by step kind of build that up, so you're focusing on the right things for your business. So in the done for you option, like if you actually hire Edge to do this, then we would have a discovery meeting where we gather a lot of information, right, Katie? We have a big list of questions that we go through, just making you aware of where some of your obstacles are and where some of the opportunities are in your business. And we, again, we gather all of the information and we process that internally. Then we'll have a second workshop where we present some of the findings of the first meeting, and then we'll have a final presentation meeting as well. So just to kind of give you an overview of that. And now I don't want to make this webinar sound like a sales pitch for that at all, but it kind of goes hand in hand. I just want to make you aware of the option that we have available.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of in addition to that, Peter, with the kind of done for you option, we definitely do the heavy lifting, but we do like to keep you guys involved in the process, keeping you up to date on our findings, and also valuing your opinions on who your business is. And even when we come up with a marketing message, getting your opinion on how we can improve it or how we can change it to kind of better fit your business as well. So definitely always kind of involved in this process as well.
Yeah, no, thanks for clarifying that, Katie. It's definitely, we want to make this as easy as possible, but of course we need your engagement, your input in it, because you know your business better than anybody. And so you can't completely, and that's the thing with marketing, I think, that marketing, you can't just completely hand off to somebody else to a certain extent, because the marketing piece of your business is so important, because without marketing and sales, you will not stay in business very long. And I know some people on the call have been around for a long time, and so you already know this. This is nothing new. But as business owners too, and like we're business owners as well, like we love to just hand stuff off to people and then let them take care of it. And for a lot of our clients, that's kind of how it works. We have that relationship and we get to know them through some of these processes, and then we're actually in a really good position to do a lot of that work. But there's always going to be your involvement, because you can't completely delegate it 100%. So and that's fun. Like, I think if you have a guide that guides you through these things, it can actually be a lot of fun, and you can actually really benefit from it. So now, we're just going through the seven steps here. Yeah, so there's some other things in the chat box here, and just go through them just quickly while we're at the topic. So yeah, Google has been very useful. Yeah, so in Ken's situation, we're actually in that process. That we've actually done some of the basic work on the marketing plan, and actually implementing some of that, right, with a new website, with some online paid ads that we're doing. So now we're actually thinking through, well, what are some of the other options that we can should pursue that would make a lot of sense to add more business to your company, right? Yeah, so then the first thing we would do, and then you can do exactly the same thing. So, take it with however you want that, want to go about it. So we go in, we do a website review. We have a checklist that we go through, strength, weaknesses. Like, we're basically trying to figure out, like, what is your online visibility at this point, like when we start. And then we look at things like, and we have presented whole webinars on some of these topics, right? Like the next point, like the SEO, the search engine optimization, for example. We look at where you're at right now, and how we can potentially improve on that, right? Your local SEO, which again is like what people say about you locally, and a lot of our clients are local businesses, although some of them have fairly large working areas. We just because of the nature of Central Alberta, we don't have a lot of multinationals that we work with. So we actually understand the small business area very well. And yeah, most businesses are local. Your clients are in your local area. Just because if your equipment, there's a cost involved in moving your equipment, for example. There's just a lot of things that come into play if you want to expand that market area. So the local SEO, the search engine optimization, has to do with how well you show up on your, Google My Business is a big one. There's a whole bunch of directories and listings that your business is listed on. So we look and see where you're at with that. Like, are you actually listed on some of those? We look at backlinks, so how many links go back to your website. We look at keywords, we look at content, we look at, what have you done on social media so far? What is your, how familiar are you with that? Reputations and reviews, again, that's really a big area, right? Like, what people say online about your business can really, in some ways, make or break your business, because bad reviews, first of all, need to be responded to, and good reviews need to be responded to as well. So most of you have good reviews. So it's a challenge is to kind of get more reviews, and reviews that are online, for example, through Google or Facebook. The people that look at those reviews know that you don't have actually control over what people say about your business, right? So they know it's trustworthy, and that's why a lot of people put a lot of trust in those online reviews. So again, what you should do, you should just you should check that out and see where you're at with some of those, what people actually are saying about your business online. Want to add anything, Katie?
Yeah, definitely. I know it might be a little unnerving to have even yourself or even a third party kind of going through your online presence, kind of thinking, oh, what am I doing wrong, or what could I've done better? But it's definitely beneficial to kind of take a step back and actually take a look at your online presence. Like Peter said, whether it has to do with your website, whether it has to do with your online reviews, taking that step back and taking a look is definitely going to benefit your business in creating that marketing plan. So you're going to be able to take those steps to make the improvements on your visibility online. And then there are several tools that we actually kind of look into your website, a little behind the scenes look at your website, that will help kind of look at your search engine optimization kind of in the background, kind of how your website's running, whether it's the speed or kind of mobile response, whether it's mobile responsive. So having a look at that, and then having tools that can take that kind of deeper look into your online presence is definitely beneficial.
Yeah, thanks for that, Katie. So the second step we take is actually look at your competitors, and this can sometimes be really revealing. And when we have these discussions with with new clients, for example, like almost everybody we talk to probably has a number one or number two competitor that gets in their way so once in a while. Like not every time, but that's typically speaking. Every business has another competitor that they are dealing with, right? So we find out who those competitors are that they need to take attention to, and like see what they're doing, like for as far as their marketing strategy goes, right? Like are they heavy into paid advertising, and that's how they rank on Google, or like what does their organic ranking look like? What does their website experience look like? Like, is that are they killing it? Are they really actually on top of that, or actually is there an opportunity for you as a business to actually do a lot better with that, right? So some of the things that we look at. So their strengths and weaknesses, we try to make a bit of a inventory of their strengths and their weaknesses, and then we just report back to the business owner on that. And you can do the same thing if you do this yourself. Then you just put it on paper, right? That's the biggest thing. Put it like these plans. When we talk about making plans, plans don't need to necessarily be long or like super detailed, but if you have an idea or you have a something that you agree on with your team, write it down on a piece of paper and then start working from there, right? Because once you write it down, now you're in some way you're a bit accountable to it, first of all, but it also will help you to kind of formulate some of your thoughts around that, right? So the process of planning is actually almost more important than the actual plan that comes out of it. So again, we take a deep dive into the website. We have all kinds of tools. We can see what how they've built it and how they have optimized it, for example. So again, we don't want to get obsessed with the competition, because you're better off just doing whatever you're doing to the best of your ability and actually provide a really good service. But it is kind of important, especially when it comes to your online marketing, to know what your competitors are doing. And also, like, if we are working with the client on their ongoing marketing, we also need to know that as well, because that can kind of determine some of the tactics and the strategies that we would employ as well, right? So that's competitive intelligence and information is definitely really important. So then this the third step we would do, actually have somebody in our office actually make calls to existing clients. So now we're past just the reviews on Google and on Facebook, things that have written. Now we're actually talking to somebody that has dealt with your company. And again, like I wrote on the bottom here, like if you have somebody else doing that for you, except like if Travis, for example, Travis, if you phone your best client, for example, what they tell you and what they would tell us or a third person, somebody else, it would probably be a little different, right? People tend to be a bit more honest when it comes to a third party individual that makes that call. So again, we want to talk to your best clients. We don't just want to talk to anybody, right? We want to really find out who your best clients are and why they're actually dealing with you, right? So we're gathering that information about, okay, maybe it was not exactly the thing that we thought was important to them. They're actually dealing with us for another reason, right? That we hadn't thought about. And that's really, those nuggets are really, really revealing sometimes. So this is an area that can be a bit uncomfortable for some people, because now they hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. But on the other hand, it's very valuable information, because now you actually know what goes to their heads, and when you talk to other people as well, right? So Katie, you've done some of these. You want to chime in?
Yeah, definitely. These client interviews, as Peter said, is definitely beneficial to have a third party, because often, at least with the clients that we have done this program with, they are actually kind of surprised with some of the information that we provide them, that we have gleaned from the client interviews, that they've talked to the clients, but of course they haven't heard these type of responses from them. So having that third party is definitely beneficial for your company to kind of get like a very true and honest response from your customers. And by getting that honest response, like what could be improved next time, is definitely beneficial, not only for your marketing, but also for your business as well. And then also with the client interviews, often you can pull similar themes. There's similar themes that come out from the responses, whether it's the service you provide or specific products that you have, that will kind of help you stand out in your when you create your messaging, but also kind of focus more on that when you are kind of building your business out.
Yeah, just a quick question here, Katie. Are we actually recording this session?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so that's again, it can be a bit uncomfortable, because you actually get some things that you maybe the client again is more careful what they share with us as business owners, or with as what they would do with a third party. So again, it's valuable information for sure. So then, based on those interviews and all the other information that we have gathered from your company so far, is getting to know your ideal clients, right, or not so ideal clients. I mean, those are two things that are really important to know, so you can focus your marketing efforts, your messaging, anything you do in your marketing, actually keeping in mind who you're actually talking to. So personas are a description of those ideal clients. Now, some people have or some businesses will have only this one group of, they only have one persona. They have like a great service for this group of clients. More often than not, you probably have like two or three. Sometimes there's different industries, sometimes there's different reasons why they deal with you. So there's all kinds of different levels, right? Like when it comes to Edge, for example, like some of our personas are more, we basically just do the website for them, and then we have the relationship of updating it and doing some work around that. But that's basically what we focus on. We have other people that are going to go all in, and we do, we have way more services that we provide, and we work way closer with some of those clients. So the messaging and the things we offer has to kind of match whoever our client audience is. And so those are some examples from our world, I guess, that we have identified those different groups in the different situations. Maybe even the size of the company, for example, right? That has something to do with as well, like how we interact and what we provide. So yeah, again, we have a bit of a worksheet that we use. We're more than willing to share that as well. Just put it in the chat box later on if you want to receive some of this. So this video will be recorded, and we will send out the slides as well. So you're already getting it anyway. So these are just some tools that we use to develop the personal information with personas. It's actually really helpful to give them names as well. And it may seem a little silly, but it is actually effective, because as soon as we mention a certain name of a persona, that everybody in our company understands what it is instantly, who this person is, because it's actually based on a real live client. And again, it's optional, but it's actually kind of fun to have, give them names, give them some fun names, and that makes it really easy to remember who you're actually working for. And when you do your marketing and when you write your blog post or your things you share on Facebook, just think about those people when you write those things and when you post those things, because if it doesn't make sense to them, then what's the point of you doing this, right? So anything else about the personas, Katie?
Yeah, definitely. Just in kind of expanding on your last point, is that by creating these personas, you're able to create content specifically based and targeting them. There may be a client who you have a persona for a client who's ready to buy right away, and then you have a persona for a client that might be might need a little bit more motivation to make a sale. So by creating those personas, you can kind of create content that will target each one and kind of help with solving their individual problems and their individual pain points.
Yeah. Okay. If you have any questions about any of this, by all means, put them in the chat box. You don't have to wait till the end. So then we get to the fifth step is kind of developing this core marketing message. And again, we've done a few webinars on clarifying your message. And again, that's a whole process on its own, but it's also, again, part of this process, because a lot of businesses that we walk into, we ask them the question, well, what do you do? Right? And it's kind of, we call it the curse of knowledge, because we're so close by to what we do. We don't always do a very good job of explaining what it actually does for the client and how we solve their problem. So what we develop in this stage is kind of a one-liner. So basically, can you explain what a one-liner is, Katie?
Yeah, definitely. So your one-liner is basically kind of a short marketing message that kind of is a summation of what your business has to offer. So with the one-liner, we kind of like to define it as the problem, your product, or your company, and the solution that you provide. By having those three components, you're able to quickly and easily connect with your audience by establishing that you acknowledge what their problem is, and then how you are able to solve it with your product or services. So usually a one-liner, even though the name's kind of deceptive, is usually 2 or 3 sentences. So it's easy to repeat, easy to memorize for both your staff and your clients as well.
Yeah. So again, the whole idea behind your messaging is is to focus on the problem you're solving, not so much about the fact that you've been around since 1965 or you bought a company from your grandfather. That's can be important information as far as building trust. But it's not so much what people are looking for, right? Like if people are looking for the actual service, and so if you talk in the terms of solving that problem that occupies people's mind, then you have a much better chance that that message resonates with them, right? Because you're talking about them and not about you, about yourself, and that's kind of I'd say a lot of small businesses going to have to make that switch, and including us. We're sometimes way too technical in the way we talk, and I'd love to get your feedback on even these webinars. Like if we're using terms that just absolutely don't make any sense to you, right? We'd love to hear your feedback on that. If we can just focus as businesses when we do our marketing messaging, just focusing on the actual problem we're solving and be very clear about that. Like don't be clever or just people have to think about what you're doing. You can just make that very clear right away. It's going to really benefit your the success of your increases chances of success for your business. Also, once you have a message together, then this is something that you will repeat over and over again in different pieces of content you create, different interactions you have with clients. So it's a basis for all the other content that you create. And again, if you work with a external agency such as Edge or somebody else, they need to know this as well because they're writing for you, and having that messaging in place right from the get-go will really help whoever writes for you create better content that's more useful, more in tune with who you really are. So, oops. Okay, so then the sixth step is the buyer's journey map. Sometimes, we in marketing lingo we talk about the sales funnel, right? People get to know you first. If they don't know you, then well, they can't like or trust you or buy from you. So that's the very first step, right? The most obvious one, maybe. Then at some point they hopefully like your company enough to take the next step. And then eventually, the role of marketing, like in this diagram, it says marketing, sales, and service. We generally stay within the first three phases, of course, but there's a lot more happens with the client once they actually become a paying customer of you, of course. But the first three stages is the know, like, trust. Like once you get that concept, that's really the purpose and the goal of marketing, to get to that point. That they trust you enough to take the next step and actually purchase. Maybe the foot in the door offer generally comes into play as well. But what we're talking about right now is just getting people to your door, getting them to know you better and actually like you. And some people may not like you. Some people may not like us, and that's just a reality. Not because we're not nice people, at least we think we are. But it's just we're not a good fit for everybody, right? And then I'm guessing you probably are in the same kind of a situation. Not everybody that comes to your door may necessarily be the ideal client. So again, if we can first of all get people to know you, and some of the tools that we use for that, of course, are things like when you talk about the tactics are social media, for example, is a really good way to create awareness, right? What used to be done through networking events maybe or trade shows, and nobody knows what's going to happen to any of those things, of course, in the future. But a lot of those networking and getting to know you is happening online, right? So what are you going to do, what are we going to do for you to kind of get that content out there, make people aware of your business, that you exist? Because if they're not aware that you exist, you have zero chance of adding them as a client, of course. So with this, and then this next stage would be like to actually like you, and that goes a step further. So that means they actually have read some of your blog posts, they've read some things that you've put out there. It may even be like an email piece that is sent to a prospective client, and they start reading and consuming some of that information. And you build this relationship of trust. So even if they don't need your service right now, maybe in 3 months or 6 months or even a year, they, once you have the relationship with them, you can nurture that relationship, and you can actually, who are they going to go to get their pest control needs met? Well, it's probably the company that actually has been sending them information or has made information available to them to help them solve their problem before they even engage this company, right? And that's really where a lot of the marketing takes place these days, is in this, the official term, I guess, is content marketing. It's valuable information that you provide to your potential clients, and actually in some cases you're actually solving part of their problem for free. And that sounds counter intuitive for a for-profit business, but again, it has been proven, like if you can solve a part of their problem for free, and then you can actually help, when, of course, with solving their complete problem. Now, of course, you have a lot of goodwill, a lot of, like, again, people want to give back to people that have given things to them for free. That's just part of our psychology, right? So with, like, why did we bring up this whole diagram? It has to do with there's different phases, and you should really, when you communicate with those different groups, there's different pieces of information that they're looking for, right? So in the awareness states, getting to know you, it could be more general, not as detailed. In the like phase, it has to be more. People are already, starting to know about you, and kind of build this relationship. They have a different need for information. They need, for example, more detailed information, right, about your company, right? And it could take all kinds of forms. It could be a piece of information. It could be a webinar. It could be all kinds of things that actually, it's not just for anybody. It's actually for people that have taken that first step and actually have engaged with your company. So that's, the sales funnel is kind of a more well-known kind of analogy, or like a symbol for this process. Although the one thing that I have found over the years is, like, not everybody walks this linear path either, right? By just simply neatly going through all those different stages. It's a lot messier than that. It's a lot more complicated than that. But at least this model is gives you a little bit an idea of, like, what you should be thinking about when you actually start developing some of the content. So think where your customer is at, and then talk to them about the things that actually really are important to them at that stage. Then the seventh leg of this whole process would be the content, the plan. So, you want to plan ahead to develop some valuable content, and maybe I'll ask Katie to say a few things about this one.
Yeah, definitely. So with content, as Peter kind of explained, is very beneficial in helping your customers through the different stages in their journey. So having content planned out that's valuable on different platforms, whether it's an email campaign, whether it's a blog post or social media content, having that kind of created and planned out is going to be beneficial not only for your customers, but for your business as well. So with this, creating a content plan, you develop themes or topics that you'd like to cover that you think your customers would find valuable, but also add to your authority as a business, because you actually know this stuff. So you're sharing that information and showing that client that, yes, we know what we're doing, and yes, we can solve your problem. So we kind of suggest building out blog posts or even hub pages. Now, hub pages are actually kind of a culmination of blog posts or website pages that have the similar topic, and then are all in an easy to find location for website visitors to find, that it's all in one spot. Now you can develop many different themes, many different hub pages, but it's all kind of basing back to that central message that you created for your business, what problem you're solving for your customer. So by creating that content, again, you're solving your problem, your company has a solution, and kind of portraying that in all the content that you have. And by planning ahead with the content, again, like I said, it makes it easier for your business, that you're not scrambling to create that blog post that needs to go out tomorrow, or that social media post that was supposed to go out this afternoon. You actually have it planned ahead. Usually 3 to 6 months is what we recommend, but having that planned ahead is definitely going to alleviate a lot of stress for your business.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a good point. When it comes to content, content is probably the most challenging uh, component of first for most small businesses that we deal with, and it's the same for us as well. Like creating good content takes time and effort, and you need to have a plan. So again, if you take the time and plan it out in advance, and 3 months even, like if you have all your blog posts kind of thought out, or at least you have a topic or a theme thought out, now you're not always behind under the gun to develop your next post and all that. And we feel that's really taking a lot of stress off our clients' lives, because now they actually know, first of all, it's taken care of, and it's good. Like it all fits together with your strategy, with your marketing message. So you're getting better engagement. Now, the other thing we like to recommend is create some good quality content. And I know it takes more time and effort, but once you have good quality content, now you can split it up in different posts on Facebook, for example, little snippets. You can actually reuse some of that content over and over again. And we have found that to be very effective, because you have just right away, you have a bunch of topics that you can like one big topic. Now you can split it up in little snippets that you can potentially share on Facebook, like again referring back to the blog post, or like in an email, right? You can when you do email marketing, you can actually take the same topics as well. So you plan it all out, but you don't have to always reinvent each and every piece of content all the time, because that gets very time consuming. And yeah, it's just, again, like I said earlier, it's probably a big challenge for a lot of small businesses to actually even start doing this, right? And again, we're firm believers in taking one step at a time. So once you figure out what makes sense for your business, and that's different for everybody, now you start small. You don't want to overwhelm yourself. You just want to try out different things and work on a plan to implement it. And then once that is working properly and you're seeing some results, and if you work with a larger team, your executive team sees results, now all of a sudden increasing the amount of time that somebody spends on that is actually becomes a lot easier discussion than just before that, because now they actually know it works, so then it's okay to put time into it. So once we get back to the to the 7 steps that we just went through, we kind of feed it into these 7 areas. So the number 7 comes back all the time here, but so these are the 7 areas of a small business marketing plan or system, even that every business or organization should pay attention to. So once we've done the strategy, so not sure if my mouse shows here or not, but today we're talking about the middle of this circle. And before we do anything else, jumping on social media or starting emailing people or building websites, we're taking a pause and actually, sit down and actually develop the strategy that we want to employ, and then we go and actually implement it into those 7 stages. And again, I don't want to spend too much time on the actual stages, but again, they'll be part of your slideshow as well. So these are the 7 areas that basically sum up probably 90% of small business marketing these days. And if you can even improve by 10% on any of those areas in your business, you are going to see results. We've seen it over and over again. So again, don't strive for perfection before you launch any of those initiatives, not at all. But make sure that you start working on them and be intentional about it, and have a plan to kind of back it up why you're, for example, going on certain social media platforms. Like not just because everybody else is doing it. It's generally not a good reason for you to use the same tactics. So that goes back to the strategy versus tactics. Go back to your strategy, why you're doing those things and what you're trying to achieve, and then what are some of the tools available that actually can get you there. So that's what this diagram is about. About 48. Okay, so we're we're getting close to the end because we do want to open it up for questions. So yeah, so again, in conclusion, effective marketing plan and something that we described is very, very user friendly. It allows you to have a clear message and really stand out from your competitors instead of just doing the same thing what they're doing. Actually, you can identify why you're different. Again, always put strategy before tactics. I can't emphasize that enough. Focus on those 7 steps in your business, right? And start working away at that. Like the website probably in most of our clients is probably the number 1 thing that we work on. If because in a lot of cases that needs work. In other cases, it's already taken care of, so they can move on to step 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. And again, going back to this diagram here, like it's actually not always that linear either. Okay, so yes, there's 7 phases, but in some cases we skip, for example, like email marketing. In some cases, is just a no-brainer for some of the clients that we work with, and we see their business in the list of people that already know them and like them because they've dealt with them before. Email marketing, for example, is a really great tool to connect with those clients. So we are very flexible as far as what we can do and say, hey, okay, well, that's just a no-brainer. We just need to start doing that right away. And then from there, you work back on the other areas. So I just want to clarify that don't get stuck just in one phase and say, well, I can't do some of these other, because these are tactics, right? Now we're actually implementing the marketing. So again, it depends on your business, but you can be very flexible in picking any of these areas. But just keep in mind that you go back to your strategy and why you're doing it and why it makes sense for you. Again, the done for you option, we do provide this service for you, or you can do it on your own. And it's the same with the implementation, like the implementation of your marketing, like doing the email marketing, doing the Google ads, doing the Facebook advertising, writing content. You can all do that yourself as well. It's just our clients fall basically in 2 categories, right? Like some clients we do all the implementation for them. In other cases, we guide them through the process, and they do a lot of that work themselves. And especially when it comes to the area that most of the content these days goes through, like the social media, we actually, if you as a company have capabilities of taking care of some of those areas, that's definitely an area that you can really do a lot of those things yourself if you just make the resources and the time available to do it. Okay, so at this point, I think that's kind of sums it up. Unless you have anything else, Katie, you want to add?
I think kind of going back into the creating the marketing message, I think where it kind of stands in the steps that you can take or that we take is definitely beneficial. Having done that competitive review and client interviews, that will help be able to define yourself separate from your competitors, and also kind of take in some of the key problems that your clients have mentioned during the interviews is definitely beneficial in creating that overall messaging.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.